Pretty spiritual.
Hi, I'm Shay.
And I'm Amy.
And this is
Pretty Spiritual.
Have you ever tried to protect your energy whilst rushing through your morning commute?
Or checked the astrology chart to try and understand why your boss, your partner, or your toddler is having a total meltdown today?
If you're trying to be a spiritual being, but you are also in a very busy, very loud human experience,
this is the place for you.
Hi, Hun.
Hey, Hun.
How are you?
I'm good.
So I really want to hear more about your spiritual journey, and I just want to hear a bit more about your spiritual practice and what that looks like.
Yeah, so I think for me, where my spiritual practice kind of started, like I said, I think I've always been quite in touch with the seasons and tried to really lean into each of the seasons and what they mean. And then a few years ago, I started getting into energy healing and started having monthly energy healing sessions. And yeah, I feel like that made such a huge difference, not just in the session itself. I mean, for anyone that's had energy healing or anyone that hasn't, I suppose the way that I would describe it is like a reset. Mm-hmm. It feels like, you know, and at the time I was working in a very high pressured corporate role and I was very stressed day to day. We'll probably talk more about this separately, but I was very, very stressed day to day. I had a lot of pressure on my shoulders, and outside of work I felt like I was juggling a lot of different plates as well. So I feel like I'd go into those sessions and you could probably just feel like how stressed and kind of disconnected from myself I was, because at that time I was really struggling to prioritise myself. I was really struggling to ground myself. I wasn't kind of making time for that, and I felt like I didn't really have the time for that. So yeah, those energy healing sessions were very much a much needed reset, and I feel like I would 9 times out of 10 walk out of that session and just feel like almost like I was a balloon that was just like full of pressure, and like someone had just like popped it, and it was like, it was just like this huge release and relief. And you know, sometimes I would come out and I would just feel really, really calm. Other times I'd have a real emotional response to it, and it would trigger like, you know, a lot of emotion coming out, and I'd be crying, and it was a release. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was a release, and it was almost like putting me back on an even kind of balance, if you like.
But then would you say also the situation you were in at the time when you started doing energy healing, you'd find suddenly that balloon would fill with air quite quickly again?
Oh, very quickly. Yeah. Very, very quickly. And if I ever missed one of those sessions and I went for 2 months, it was like I just knew that I was like overdue this reset, because I just really, really feel it. And at the time I think because I was so busy and because I was so stressed and had a lot of pressure on my shoulders, I didn't really explore many other avenues of what things I could do in between those sessions to try and prevent that from happening and to like reset.
Mm-hmm. I've just gone through that myself. Literally the past 2 months I missed one of my sessions because whatever reasons, and it was like a bottle of pop. Yeah. Do you know, like starting to fizz over. Yeah. And I was like, I need this session more than anything right now. And because it's just kind of come along with Christmas and come along with lots of things ongoing in my life, work-wise, family life, and lots of things to do. I had to really, really work hard on that release myself, because I know like the energy healing is a full reset, and it's someone else helping you. Yeah. I mean, we're both trained energy healers. We are now. Yeah. But it's, even with that qualification, it can be really hard to take yourself out of normal life and do that. We're not doing this full time. We're not full-time spiritual people. I mean, we are full-time spiritual people, but we're not in the sense of that's our job. Yeah. And I think it's really, really important to know that it's okay to have ups and downs and have high vibe, low vibe constantly. Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree with that. And like you say, I think part of when you book an energy healing session, or I imagine it's the same as if somebody books a yoga class or a sound bath or something like that, I think
think part of that is that you're giving yourself permission to take that time away from your busy life and commit to yourself. And exactly like you've just said, I think because we're so busy day to day, even if you're trained in energy healing, or you know about crystals and the benefits of how crystals can support you, or I don't know, your whatever it might be, you know how to practice yoga, or you know that you can go into deep meditation. I think sometimes, even though you've got that skill set, it's the time aspect, and it is like, I think we don't always give ourselves permission to like take time away from outside of our life to kind of do that for ourselves. Whereas when you are going somewhere to have a sound bath or to have your energy healing,
you're going on a spiritual retreat.
You're kind of like giving yourself permission, and you've sort of provisionally said, I'm carving out that time. And I think that's something that I have got better at, but something that I need to get better still at is like doing that day to day, and almost being like you said, you know, okay, I'm going to give myself, even if it's just 20 minutes to work on myself, or to do some work on my chakras, or whatever it might be.
So one thing I do, because obviously I've said previously I'm in a full-time corporate job, and I'm a full-time mom and partner, and life is just chaotic, and then I have my business on the side as well. Obviously I'm just like bubbly.
You're a busy girly.
Yeah, I mean,
you are such a busy girly.
I'm also trying to get qualifications and everything apparently. But one thing that I do that is really kind of simple, and it doesn't take time away from my day, is I listen to healing frequencies to go to sleep. And you can get different healing frequencies to different chakras. So if I know that one of my chakras is out, I will go to sleep listening to frequencies related to that. And that doesn't take any time away from me, because I fall asleep. I have like this band that I listen to, so it's flat on my ears because I'm a sensory girly and can't have anything on my ears. And I set it to like 1 hour, and it puts me to sleep because it takes my train of thought to that and not thinking about 100 billion things in my head. But I genuinely do wake up feeling like I've done the work whilst I sleep. So I have it set to like an hour. I'm flat out within about 15-20. But that's just a little piece of kind of spirituality I've managed to add in without causing myself more stress. So is that anything that you do daily?
That. Yeah, I do very similar actually. So I always go to sleep to frequency music. I actually can't sleep without frequency music on now, because I've been doing that for a couple of years. I think I struggle now, yeah. And I think, well, I could probably listen to other music, but I think once you've gone to sleep listening to something, like when you don't, the silence is just deafening. Like you need to. So yeah, I do that. And then one of the main things for me that I've noticed is, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday, is having a morning routine. I don't mean anything overly out there. It's just I've noticed over the last few months I've really tried to like have a consistent morning routine where I'm not a morning person. And something that's really important to me is that I have time every morning before I like officially start my day and whatever I need to be doing, that I have time to have like a slow morning. And I am in a fortunate position where I have been able to build that into my day to day. And that doesn't look like anything, you know, crazy. It is literally just giving myself time to, like, I get up in the morning, I open the blinds, I'm like, oh, have a little peer out the window. Like, I have like a routine that I do, and it's just at home. I'll come downstairs, I'll have my hot drink, like I sit on the sofa normally, and I put like a cozy scene on the fire, I light a candle, and I don't spend a long time doing it, but just having like a consistent routine just every morning, it really helps to ground me, and I feel like it really sets me up for the day ahead. And yesterday I didn't have that. I had some other things to do, and I felt like I didn't really do my morning routine as I would. And all day I just felt like in my head I was like really chaotic. I was bouncing around from one place to another. I couldn't focus, and it's almost like it's true what a lot of people say, like the way that you start your day kind of sets the tone for the day. And it definitely did. And I feel like when I do my morning routine, I just feel like I'm I'm much more productive, I'm much more focused, I feel a lot more balanced, I feel a lot more calm. And as soon as I don't do that, I just feel like complete chaos. And like I said, that's not even doing anything spiritual.
No.
As such, spiritual. It's more just taking that time for me.
Yeah, I completely get that, because I started reading a series of books called A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I became very heavily obsessed with them quite quickly. It was a hyperfixation.
Yeah.
So I started reading a series of books called A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I haven't read for a really long time. And part of the reason I wanted to read is because I've always struggled with visualization, and I've really struggled with I feel like I have some dysphantasia or something like that, that doesn't allow me to picture a lot of things. And quite quickly I realised that reading fiction allowed me to kind of expand my thought process, my imagination, and I was like, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
So naturally my ADHD kicks into a hyperfixation. It's like, ooh, dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And the first 2 weeks I went through 4 books in the season, but I was getting up at 6 o'clock. I was going downstairs, making myself a drink, sat in my cosy armchair, lamp on, because we've got the dark mornings, and I'd read for 45 minutes. I mean, most people read like 20, 30 minutes, but I was like obsessed. 45. Here we go. And my son wasn't awake yet. My partner wasn't awake. They weren't starting their day.
Yeah.
And I had that time for myself. And then I was like, right, go wake everyone up. And then I'd eaten breakfast. I'd had my drink. And I was like, oh, I'll just like jump in the shower. And I started finding that I was like having more time for myself and carving that out. I mean, we've had a chaotic couple of weeks and I've completely lost that.
Yeah.
That little kind of schedule I had for myself, but it's something that I'm striving to get back, because you're completely right. Carving out a little bit of time is really beneficial for you spiritually.
Yeah.
And having that me time. And I wasn't, like you said, not doing anything spiritual in the sense of like doing a ritual, sitting at my altar. I was sat having peace and giving myself time to balance and slowly kind of wake up and start the day, and it made such a big difference for me.
I love that.
So I'm definitely trying to get that back.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch this space. I'm going to be a morning girly.
I love that.
By I'll give myself till March.
No, that sounds really good. But like we say, it's balance, and this is the reality of real life. Like me talking about yesterday, you talking about, you did that for a set period of time and then something happens and it kind of all goes out the window. That is just real life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, nobody is perfect, and nobody, it's very difficult to do something consistently every single day, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, when we recognise the value of having like that time for ourselves, it's like, okay, I recognise the benefit of that, we'll try and get back to that, but it's just being realistic, isn't it?
It is. I mean, this morning I even had the day off work today, because obviously we're filming, and you'd think, okay, I could have a slow morning this morning. Naturally my son needs to go to school. My partner was taking him to school, which was a great help, but I got him dressed, had his breakfast, and it's like, okay, timings, we're good. And then we're about to walk out the door, it's like 8:15. He doesn't start school till like 8:45. And I suddenly realised like, oh my gosh, it's mufti day today, which is like non-uniform day for people that don't know what mufti is. And even worse, it's the NSPCC number day, so what he needs to wear needs to have a number on. And I'm like, okay, absolute chaos in the house. I'm running back up the stairs and I'm like, right, you've got to wear this dinosaur jumper, and if they ask why it's related to numbers, they've got to count the dinosaurs. And
I love that. That is like very imaginative.
My imagination's coming back.
Yes, I love that. Those books were helping. I love it.
And I could have had a really slow morning if I'd have got up at like the 6:15 that I've been trying and sat with my coffee. I mean, I did make a coffee and sit in the corner of my chair, but then I started scrolling on my phone and realised it's mufti day, and suddenly chaos erupted. And I think it just shows like you can not have it all together. That's okay. Like, you don't have to strive. I mean, having that perfect routine is ideal, and I am striving towards that, and I think it makes the biggest of difference. But sometimes life just doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
And even though you were saying that when you didn't have that day, you do feel unbalanced, I think it's also about forgiving yourself sometimes that things don't go to plan.
Yeah. And I think it's like setting realistic expectations, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like if you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do... It's like with anything, you know, people that want to start going to the gym. If you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week, you're kind of probably going to set yourself up to fail. Because you might be able to do that for a few weeks, but then something is going to happen, whether it's just that you wake up with a lack of motivation one day, whether something else in life happens, and it's going to prevent you from doing that, and then you automatically then feel like you failed and like you've not met your expectations. So I think it's just being really realistic and being kind with yourself and saying, right, I'm going to do this when I can, or I'm going to do this, you know, once a week or a couple, you know, just being really realistic. And then if you get a chance to do your morning ritual 3 times a week and you've said you're going to try and do it twice, then brilliant. Like, it's just how you frame it, isn't it, sometimes? And it's just being realistic with ourselves, because everyone has stuff that comes up.
Yeah, I think one of the things that highlighted to me that my spirituality was maybe causing me a little bit more stress was a few months ago, one of my family members had a party that fell on a full moon. And it wasn't just any full moon. It was a super moon. And I was like, oh my God, super moon. Must do ritual.
So inconsiderate.
So inconsiderate of them to have a birthday party on that day. And I felt an element of stress because I was like, with the timings of getting my son to bed afterwards and like just everything, I was like, I'm not going to be able to celebrate the super moon. And I was like, I actually felt like a bit put out by it. And then I had this realization that that's okay. One, moon energy lasts for a couple of days, guys. You don't have to do it on the exact day. But I was like, why am I letting this get to me? I'm about to have an experience with family members, with my family, and I'm letting this cause me a kind of low vibe reaction. Yeah. And it's when I realized that, I was like, okay, you need to reevaluate how this is impacting you. And I think that's really, really important again to say, is if it's having an impact on your emotions, your feelings, the way you think, or family relationships or anything like that, or just even your mindset, you should reevaluate, because it doesn't need to be rigid, it doesn't need to be strict. You don't have to do your ritual exactly at this time and date, and that's coming from someone with like full-blown OCD. So and that has been a big healing thing for me for my OCD, I want to say as well, being able to really kind of connect with myself and be like, okay, I mean, medication helps with that as well, guys, but being able to really connect inside and be like, okay, this isn't such a big deal that I haven't done it here, and you can do it then, or you can do it the next day, and just let go of that guilt is a huge turning point for myself, and I think a lot of other people.
Yeah, I think so too. And we have enough pressure in our lives from other things, don't we? And we don't want spirituality or feeling like you have to do something at a certain time to add extra pressure to, you know, to our lives that are already high pressured a lot of the time. So yeah, I think that's a really good lesson that we can all take away. Yeah,
and I think constantly being at a high vibe is another thing. I think people have the expectation that you must always be at a high frequency, and that unfortunately for a lot of us isn't real life. That isn't in the 3D life. I mean, amazing if you could continuously live in a high frequency, like, please tell me how you do it. But as we've already said, people have busy lives, and it's accepting that you're going to have high vibe, low vibe, and recognizing, can you control the thing that is causing you low vibe? Okay, can you remove it? Can you work on it? Can you make it less low vibe? Or sometimes low vibe things just happen, and it's how you deal with it afterwards, and if you reflect on it and how you let it impact you.
I think that's really important to say. Like you say, it's just completely unrealistic to feel like you need to be living on a high vibe. I was actually reading a book the other day, and you've just reminded me of something. It talks about, in this book there was a paragraph about happiness and what happiness looks like and what contentment looks like, and it was talking about how depending on where you're at with your life, and depending on, it was actually connecting it to the seasons because it's a seasonal book, and it was saying happiness and contentment can look very different depending on where you're at in your life. So for example, it was saying how in winter, for example, happiness and contentment can look like being able to stay in bed a little bit longer in the morning, to be able to retreat a little bit more, to be able to kind of cut ourselves off a little bit from society, and to be able to hibernate and to be able to really like lean into that, or go to bed an hour earlier because it's dark and we just feel like we want to, and like that in that moment makes us feel happy and makes us feel content. Whereas in the summer, for example, it could be, okay, it's a light night, so I actually have the privilege of being able to go out for a walk at 9 o'clock in the evening, which is something that I wouldn't be able to do. And that kind of getting out is what gives us that sort of dopamine, and what makes us feel happy and what makes us feel content. So I think it's just, again, it's tapping into not just the seasons, but tapping into how we feel kind of in that moment.
Adapting
and that,
to it.
And like what gives us that like high vibration can be different, like depending on what it is that we actually need and what it is that we want.
You saying that right now has literally just had like a profound moment in my brain, because it's so right. And I literally this week was sat there going, I can't wait for the summer so I can sit in my egg chair with my flowers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, do I only feel more spiritual in the summer months? And it's like, no, you don't. You're just doing different things.
Yeah.
And you saying that makes complete sense, because last night I went to bed earlier than anticipated.
Yeah.
I was tired. And I listened to my frequencies, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm giving myself rest.
Yeah.
And this is what I need spiritually right now.
Yeah.
And then waking up early, and even though the dark mornings are here, I found magic as such in putting on my cozy little lamp and sitting in my cozy corner, and just giving myself some time. And yeah, it's about, I guess, adapting to what's around you.
Definitely.
And the seasons. And I've found now that I can be spiritual in the winter months.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my spirituality in the summer months. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
Because I get to sit with nature. But I went for a rainy walk after my energy healing last week, and I was like, okay, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm feeling spiritual. I like the trees. I love the smell of the rain.
Yeah.
Everything. So yeah.
It's what you need at that time, isn't it? It's leaning into whatever it is that you need at that time, and spirituality, and you know, and what we need, and that happiness, and whatever gives us that high vibration. It will differ day to day, but season to season as well.
I mean, if we go by the wheel of the year, the new year isn't actually December. It hasn't started yet. So December, kind of 31st New Year. If we look at the traditional kind of timescales of the seasons, these dark months are a time of rest and recuperating, and that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. Definitely. And I feel like we can do another episode on that.
Definitely.
I think that is definitely another episode topic to talk about the seasons and maybe the pressures that we sometimes feel in the kind of 3D external world that don't necessarily connect with how we feel in those months and things.
Yeah, definitely. Have a lot to say about, Wheel of the Year, so looking forward to that one.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode.
If anything that we've spoke about today has resonated and you'd like to hear more from us, don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a comment.
We hope to see you next week on another episode of Pretty Spiritual.
Pretty Spiritual!